Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. On today's episode, we have an actual roster. So we're going to look at who's going to Europe and who's staying behind. And then the Sharks made some additions to their front office. We're going to look at who they are and what they're going to bring to the Sharks in the future. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at Fear the Fin and San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making us your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can subscribe on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, go ahead and click the little button to subscribe. Hit the little bell. That way you know exactly when all the episodes come out. Spoiler, they come out on YouTube first. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about which players are going to Europe, why they're going to Europe, and some of the guys who got left behind and what this means for them. So, I think there was, of course, a big hullabaloo about guys who were left behind and especially Daniel Gushchin, but we'll get into why some of the guys went and why some of the guys didn't go. So, but before we kind of get going, let's actually name the guys who went. So, you've probably already seen these, but we'll just run through them again really quick. So from the forwards, Nick Bonino, Thomas Bordeleau, Logan Couture, William Eklund, Jonah Gadovich, Noah Gregor, Tomas Hertl, Luke Cunnin, Kevin LeBanc, Oscar Lindblom, Steven Lorentz, Timo Meyer, Matt Nieto, Nico Sturm, Evgeny Svechnikov, and Jeff Veal. From the defensemen, Matt Benning, Nick Cicek, Mario Ferraro, Scott Harrington, Eric Carlson, Jacob Megna, Radim Shimmick, and Mark-Edward Vlasic. And then the goalies, Aaron Dell, Capo Kakinen, and James Reimer. So, 26 players get to go. They do have to, 27 players get to go. Before they actually play their first game, they do actually have to get down to 23 players. So, they're bringing extra guys with them just in case something happens. If somebody gets hurt, they have plenty of guys that they can call up from reserves. But before the actual puck drop, they do have to get down to a 23-man roster. So a couple of these guys will be sent down to the Barracuda, even though they're still they'll still be with the team in Prague. So, and then a couple guys, of course, Alexander Barabanov didn't make the trip. He's still dealing with his injury. Nikolai Knizhov, of course, we probably won't see him until the end of the season, but they still have to account for him. And then Marcus Nudavara, who we haven't seen in the past couple of weeks, he got hurt. So the following players then were sent to the San Jose Barracuda. Andrew Agazino, who cleared through waivers. Zach Iman, Daniel Gushchin, Santera Hataka, Luke Johnson, who's still on a tryout, Artemi Kanaizev, Mark Lewinsky, Itu Akademi, Straussman, Ryan Merkley, who will put a pin in that one, Montana Onyebuchi, Derek Pouliot, Adam Raska, Scott Reedy, Tristan Robbins, CJ Seuss, who also cleared waivers, Max Verano, and Jasper Weatherby. And then Artem Gurov has also returned to his junior team in Petersburg. So that kind of tidies up the roster right now. So let's start with the guys who made the team and kind of why they made the team. And I mean, we knew about, like most of the guys who were locked, like Bonino, Couture, Gregor, Hertl, Cunnin, LeBanc, Lindblom, Lorentz, Timo, Nieto, Nico Sturm, who I was a little worried just because of his injury in the last preseason game. He left that game after a big hit, but apparently he's doing okay enough to make the trip. And then of the defensemen, Matt Benning, Ferraro, Carlson, Shimmick, Vlasic, and then we knew all the goalies were going to go. So pretty much those guys were locks. We knew that those guys were going to go. Some of the question marks, Bordalo, I thought had a really great preseason, was provided the offense, and I don't know if he's going to play. I would actually be kind of shocked if he does play, but we'll see, especially with some of the injuries. Eklund, again, he didn't light up the stat sheet as much, but you saw him working on like his quote unquote hockey man's game, where he was able to kind of do all the things that coaches like. And again, I know he didn't light up the stat sheet as much, but the points will come with him. And I think he's also played a lot on kind of some lower lines guys. So hopefully if he gets a chance to play with your, maybe that Couture LeBanc Eklund line, which didn't do much in the Anaheim game, maybe they can get some chemistry going too, especially if Lindblom maybe isn't 100%. Gadovich, he had a really great preseason and definitely deserves to go. Also isn't waivers eligible, so you're going to have to play that game with him if you think you might be able to sneak him down. But he did have a really great preseason. You could really, got on the score sheet. Talked about it on Friday's postcast, where you can see the improvements in his game, and he's not just playing the enforcer role type of situation where his skating's improved and his decision making's improved, and if he can become a more well-rounded player, that's he could be a asset on that fourth line. So, and not just another kind of face puncher guy down there. So, and then Evgeny Svechnikov has some good opportunity. He looked pretty solid as well in the preseason. Again, another one of those waivers guys where he'd have to pass through waivers. Not that I'm worried about him, maybe being claimed, but again, you still have to bring plenty of guys just to have, in case something goes on. He can definitely step into kind of a middle six role if you need him in a pinch. I wouldn't play him there long term. And then Jeff Veal, who's maybe the head scratcher of the forward group on why he went instead of some other guys. But again, playing the waivers game with him right now, so I don't know. I honestly don't know why. Yeah, Jeff Veal's okay. So that one, a little bit of a head scratcher to me on why he went compared to some of the other guys, but I'm assuming it's because they didn't want to try to play the waivers game right now. So among the defensemen, I mean, pretty much we kind of knew who was going to be going. Jacob, all those guys were pretty much locks. Scott Harrington just signed his contract, and with Nunavara being hurt, we've seen Harrington play with Erik Karlsson in the preseason. So shout out to Nick Cicek for getting to go. I don't think he's actually going to get to play, but it's awesome that he at least gets to earn this opportunity, especially his story of not being drafted and kind of working his way. And I think this is a really nice reward for Cicek to get to go. So, and then, yeah, I mean, most of the other guys were pretty much kind of knew who was going there. And again, with the goaltenders, we knew it was Dell, Kapokakinen, and James Reimer. I'll be interested to see if they're going to try to squeeze in through waivers while they are in Europe. Just if someone claims him, if he has to fly back right away type of situation. So, yeah, those are guys who went. We have plenty of time this week to kind of discuss who's going to line up where and kind of dig into the nitty gritty. We'll use the Germany, their exhibition game in Germany as a kind of nice little peek at who's going to potentially playing with who. So, but before we get into some of the guys who didn't make it and kind of what this means for them, let's go ahead and take a quick break. Talk to you guys about a new friend, SimpliSafe. So, nothing worse than having your house broken into. It's the worst feeling. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe Home Security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. They make it easy for everybody with their 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. With those 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe agents will call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or you can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, and HD security cameras for inside and outside your home. Smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real. If you're worried about like the whole, your dog running around type of thing. So, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. And their monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. So if you want to go check them out, customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl and save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan. Get your first month free. So visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, so of course the guys who didn't make it, and I think we have to start with Daniel Gushchin. And I get the outrage. I understand it. He was awesome in the preseason, and we know the Sharks are going to struggle to score goals. That's what he does, right? Daniel Gushchin's a goal scorer. And I get the reward the kid for for his great preseason. You don't just get a hat trick in a preseason game. I know it's the Vegas Golden Knights didn't have their best lineup out there, but there's still NHL caliber players on that Vegas team that was playing that night, and he made them look silly at times. He is the best player on the ice in a few games, so I get the outrage. Why not send Gushchin? And I don't know, like, where's Daniel Gushchin going to play? Or if he's going to play, right? I get the Sharks are going to struggle to score, but I just don't think he's ready to be kind of thrusted into that top six role. Like, Gushchin's not a bottom six guy. Do you want Gushchin kind of, I mean, we've seen this before of guys kind of playing out of position. And while I love watching Daniel Gushchin, I don't want him playing 10 minutes a night with the Jeffrey Viel's of the world and kind of like that, and just kind of struggling to, not getting a real opportunity to actually go out there and do what Daniel Gushchin's good at, right? I don't want that square peg in a round hole of like, hey, Gushchin, go out there and, go forecheck and muck it up for a little bit. And that's not Daniel Gushchin's game. This has been the problem with the Sharks for a long time, is that they push guys into that aren't ready, or they push guys into the wrong spot. And I want to watch Gushchin play on the Sharks. I'm very excited to watch Gushchin play on the Sharks, but let's let him kind of get consistent with the Barracuda, right? Of, being able to be a power play guy, a 5-on-5 guy, and then maybe work on that special team, on that shorthanded. And, can you Matt Gushchin on the penalty kill if he gets one, dude, and he's going the other way? Like, especially the Sharks are going to be running a very, very power kill system of be aggressive, make the opposing power play have to think and react quickly. And if Daniel Gushchin can work on those skills and become an effective penalty killer, that's just another tool to add to his bag. So I'm very disappointed at the prospect of not seeing Gushchin in Europe. But again, like, I know Bordelot and Eklund are going to Europe, but are we sure they're even going to play against the Preds? Maybe. I mean, because the Sharks still do have to get to a 23-man roster. So Barracuda, they're going to be starting their training camp here. They got preseason games next weekend, a couple preseason games. Like, let's let Gushchin slow cook here a little bit, and he's going to play NHL games at some point this year. It's not a matter of if, it's when Gushchin's going to play NHL games, because I think with a much better Barracuda roster, he's going to light up the AHL, and he's going to make Mike Grier and David Quinn say, okay, he has to play, and not just play on a fourth line grinder role, like play meaningful minutes. So It's fine. I get the reward him. But the Sharks, that's been their big issue the past couple of years is pushing guys before they're ready, putting guys in a position, not putting guys in a position to succeed. So let's pump the brakes. Let's let Gushchin destroy the AHL, and then he's going to come in and burn down the NHL at some point. And it's like Christmas. You got to wait. You got to wait for a little bit. So then I guess the other guy we got to talk about is Ryan Merkley, who, I think it was a big red flag that he didn't play in either of the split squad games on Friday night. I've said this 1,000 times with Ryan Merkley, where you see those plays where he just does things that not many other players can do, but he's always he just one too many things with him. So, if we think about his development, right, played on a really bad Barracuda team in 2020 that was really weird just because of all, guys couldn't really practice much together, and, everything was very, with the pandemic, things were just really different that season. Last year starts the season, and the Barracuda was having a good season. With the Barracuda, the Sharks start to fall apart. We have the famous Sharkuda team kind of in November, and Ryan Merkley played pretty well there. But then at the end of the season, the Sharks were bad, and he was having to play on a bad team. And every time he made a mistake, guess what happened to Ryan Merkley? He got benched. So he wasn't getting real playing time. So I think, again, starting him on the Barracuda this year, let him kind of work out some of when has he had a real actual season where he's not kind of yo-yoing and not where he, can actually play real minutes and work on his development. And we know John McCarthy is going to work on his development. I'm okay with it. I was very, I said if Ryan Merkley, earlier this summer, I said if Ryan Merkley isn't starting on the Sharks, we need to panic. I think I'm doing a 180. I think for him, if we want to get the most out of Ryan Merkley, and I've heard the Ryan Merkley window shut, the Merkley window shut, it's boarded up. It's okay, guys. Sometimes defensemen take. Not every defenseman's Cale Makar, and they just hit the ground running. And Cale Makar is a very special, talented player. And I think Ryan Merkley can still be a very useful middle six guy, kind of being the Robin to Erik Karlsson's Batman. But again, we've seen this with the Sharks before. How many times they just put guys in before they're ready? And Ryan Merkley, maybe he's not ready yet to be a 20-minute NHL defenseman right now. And that's okay. Letting him, what's going to be a much better Barracuda team, letting him play, he's going to be the top defenseman on the Barracuda right now. Letting him play power play minutes, let him work on his penalty kill, let him work on 5-on-5, let him play in all situations and learn, okay, what can I do? And then what do I need to not try as much? We see all the time. He makes a great first move, but then he tries to make that second move. And instead of passing it to an open teammate, he loses the puck type of situation. So let's let him play in the AHL. Let him kind of chill out for a little bit. Ryan Merkley's going to be just fine. So that's we'll be fine with those guys, and then the other guys we knew, I know Tristan Robbins got to hang out for a little bit, but he just needs some more time. Scott Reedy, I think it was just it was a numbers game with Reedy, unfortunately, and Reedy will be back up in the NHL before long. I think he's a classic tweener right now where he's too good for the AHL and he just doesn't have a spot in the NHL yet. But as we see the wear and tear of the season and guys kind of fall in and out of favor, I think Reedy's going to be one of those guys who will quickly kind of rise back up the line up here. So again, and if the Barracuda are super stacked right now, that's awesome because I think the Barracuda are going to be really fun. And we need to acknowledge that maybe the Barracuda might be more fun than the Sharks this year. So that's fine. Before we get into some of these Sharks' new hires and for the front office, let's take a quick break. Let you guys know about Locked On NHL. Thank you guys, of course, for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And of course, on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But make sure you guys go check out Locked On NHL when you're done listening to this. They've got you covered 5 days a week from local experts. Wednesdays, Western Conference Wednesdays. So you can go check that out. Thursdays, they always do power rankings, so you can kind of see where they've been doing kind of different power rankings heading into the season. I hopefully we'll start getting the actual team power rankings here with the start of the season. So make sure you guys go check out Locked On NHL wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can find them on YouTube as well. So the Sharks also did make some announcements with their additions to the front office. And one of the things I really, with Mike Grier, it's been very hit or miss maybe with some of his moves and stuff. But I like how Grier knows what he knows and knows what he doesn't know. And it seems like he's really trying to surround himself with guys who can kind of help to fill in those voids. And the one guy I think in with this is the hiring of Dominic Zrim. I probably screwed up those last name, but Zrim. He uses a website. If you're listening to this, you've probably been on this website at least once, if not a bajillion times. But he helped to found the website Cap Friendly, which you can go on there right now and see a bajillion, like everybody's contracts and, kind of all the nuances of their contracts and buyout windows. It's like an essential tool to anybody who kind of follows a hockey team with any regularity. And the Sharks, I'm sure if you've been on Cap Friendly, that their Cap Friendly page is not the prettiest page there. So, he's going to help with the kind of the nuances of player contracts and, salaries and all that fun stuff. He worked with the Blackhawks for a little bit last season, but left when kind of more information came out about the Blackhawks scandal. So I really like this hire. I think getting somebody who really knows their cap space and knows how, not only knows your cap space, but knows kind of trends and how other teams implement their cap space is really smart. And, using maybe, he can use those little kind of gray areas of like, okay, maybe like our fourth pair, our third pair defenseman should only be making this much instead of this much and save a couple of dollars. It's just smart to have somebody who knows the cap very well. And again, having Mike Grier, former player, I don't expect Mike Grier to know all the ins and outs of the cap. So having a guy who does know that, I think, is a really, really, really smart hire. So they added AJ Bernstein, who coordinator for hockey analytics. I believe he worked mostly kind of USHL type of thing, but again, adding another analytic, especially with Doug Wilson Jr. leaving, and that was kind of your big analytics guy, so filling that void of analytics, we'll kind of see what he does. So he worked with the Chicago Steel and also worked with the Metropolitan Rivers in the NWHL. So again, I'm very for analytics, another tool in your toolbox. So added a European scout, Martin Unak, for Czechia, Slovakia, Germany, and Switzerland. Former player, played over there. I think he was also a GM for a team over there as well. And then another Cody Ward, assistant video coach. So more coaches and stuff like that. And then Brian Gaines, Gaines is your assistant strength and conditioning coach. I think that's the best last name ever for a strength coach, is having Gaines. So he worked in the AHL for the Bakersfield Condors, and then was also, worked in some other places as well. So Gaines as that's going to crack me up. So that's awesome. Yeah. So Sharks have a roster. They're in Germany right now. I think Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon their time. I don't know. They were all attending a soccer game, which is really cool. So they've got they've got an exhibition game this week in Germany, and then they're going to Prague. They'll have 2 games against the Predators before flying home and waiting a week until they kick off their home opener against the Hurricanes. So gonna be a little weird this week with this. So we get a taste of the regular season, and then we had to put it on hold. So we got some fun stuff lined up. I have a really, really fun interview that'll come out tomorrow with a kind of you'll enjoy it. So, and then we'll get you guys ready for the Preds game on Friday, and I can't believe hockey season's here. So so make sure you guys are following along on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can listen wherever you get podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Odyssey. If you're on Apple, leave a 5-star review. I'm going to check right now, see if I've gotten any new reviews recently. And if I haven't, I'm going to be really sad. And I think I'm going to be really sad here. So let's see. I'm really sad, guys. No new reviews. Also, YouTube, go ahead and watch there. You can watch me be really sad right now. But again, we're going to do more postcasts, especially for the weekend games. Maybe not this weekend because I'll be in the middle of work when the Sharks play. Thank you very much, NHL. But we'll try to do that this week. Maybe on Saturday. We'll see. And then, you can find me on Twitter at myfryhole. And until tomorrow, bye, friends.